Hi, everyone. It's Debra Hamilton Law and Mediation, and the Why Do Pets Matter podcast. Good to see you here, John. I'm so glad you're here. Rose, I'm so glad you're here. I'll wait for a few minutes for other people to come on, but I'm so excited about being here tonight because there was just an article. It's in the chat box, I believe. I put the link in the chat box. Yes, I did. There was an article from the University of Michigan that I posted on Facebook today, where they did a study about how people want to get out of the hospital even though they're sick because they don't have any care for their pets, and they're really worried about it. So I'm trying to reach out to those authors, the doctors and nurses who are the authors of that article from the University of Michigan medical community, because this is what the MAAP plan does. It gives you the ability to make a plan for your pet if, God forbid, something happens to you. So, John, I'm so glad you're here. What we usually start with is we check in with everybody who's coming. So I'm going to start with you since you're the early bird catching the worms. Tell us where you're from and a little bit about you and your pets.
I live in upstate New York, just outside of Syracuse, New York, in a village called Casanova.
Yep, I know it well. Lots of dog shows there.
In any case, we have two golden retrievers, Molly and Bailey. One's 12 years old and one's 3.5. And both of them are therapy dogs. And this past month, we basically started making visits again, which the pandemic kind of shut us down.
Yeah.
So we got some visits to Syracuse University and also to Upstate Hospital. So I'm interested in hearing what you had to say. I was at your symposium last year.
Yep.
So that's where I got your name and everything else. And I thought it'd be a good time I finally had time to check because I get your email saying you're
come join us.
Join us. And this is about the first time I've had a real chance to join you.
Oh, fabulous. I'm so glad you're here. There's a great program coming up. I think it's like $25. It's remote, but it is the National Dog Show. And Rose, maybe you can Google this and find the link. The National Dog Show Therapy Dog Symposium. It's going to be remote. And since you have 2 therapy dogs, they're going to have some great speakers. I have the link. I have the link for that. Oh, perfect. Because Temple Grandin's going to be there, not there, she's going to be virtual, but they're going to have some phenomenal speakers. And I believe it is the 30th of November. Right. That's well, no, it's not. It's like the 29th or something. But anyway, if you have the link, I highly recommend it. I'm on the board of directors. So true transparency, I'm on the board of directors of the National Dog Show Therapy Dog Symposium at Rowan University. And it is one of the best things I have ever done. And I gave a talk there a year ago about...
I was on that call.
Okay, so that's where you heard the beginning of right. This, because it really is so important for us to be able to make a plan for our pets so that if anything happens to us short or long term, we are able to care for our pets. And that's why I put the link in the chat. Great article. If you go to the chat, you can hit the link and it'll come up behind the Zoom so that you can read it later. But it's a great article by the University of Michigan medical community about how people really don't want to stay in the hospital because they don't have anybody to take care of their pets. So that's why everybody's here and comes frequently or infrequently to learn how to make those plans so that, God forbid, if you're in the hospital, you have somebody to call. And what we've been really stressing lately is making sure that you have a card in your car, easily visible, maybe even taped to the dashboard. My husband gets crazy when we're traveling and I have my card in the car, but it is easily seen. And it just simply says, in case of emergency, God forbid you have a car accident, right? And you're taken away. And maybe you live alone. I think you don't live alone, John. You and your wife are together, right? So there's somebody there who knows where the dogs are. But if you live alone, or if your wife is in the car with you, God forbid, and both of you go to the hospital, somebody knows where your dogs are and who to call to take care of them. Because during COVID, I don't think you've been here since COVID started. During COVID, Animal Care and Control will come and get your dogs. And if you get really sick and you can't get out of the hospital, then your dogs might go through the shelter process, which means they might be adopted, and then you can't get them back. So that's why my mission in life is to make sure everyone who's on this call puts a 3x5 card up on their refrigerator, and has a 3x5 card in their car with black magic marker that says, in case of an emergency, I have dogs at home. Please call these 3 people so that they can come take care of the dog. Now, if your wife isn't with you, not a problem. She's going to take care of the dogs. And I also recommend making sure one of those people or your nosy neighbor, because if you're being carted out of the house because God forbid something happens and you live alone, leaving the dogs in the house is something that EMS is not one to do. They will call Animal Care and Control. So what you need to do is you need to make sure you have a card up there so that EMS knows, okay, the neighbor has a piece of paper that says, I know who to call in the event of an emergency, leave the dogs in the house. On the refrigerator is a card that says, do not remove my dogs from the house. These are the 3 numbers you are to call, and these people will come and take care of my pets, because we don't want them going into the system. It's not that the system is bad. I'm not against Animal Care and Control. It's simply that if you have a long-term illness, there was a woman in New York who broke her hip, and they took her 9-year-old Afghan, and she said, where are you taking my dog? She lived alone. And they said, well, we're taking it to Animal Care and Control, but it'll be there when you get out. Well, she was in her 70s, wasn't really bringing her phone everywhere. She didn't answer a call from Animal Care and Control. She didn't answer a call from the shelter. And so her beautiful Afghan was given to Afghan Rescue and was adopted. And Afghan Rescue's contracts say that you cannot get that dog back, that if they make an attempt to get in touch with you and you don't answer, that dog is adopted and then you can't get it back. So I'm sort of the drum I'm beating for the end of the year, that everybody have these notes up on their refrigerators so that the dogs stay home, and that you have at least 3 people, 2 if you don't have 3, but you have people who can be called by EMS, and on the other end of the phone they say, yes, I know what John wants done with Maggie and with Bailey, and just leave them there, and I'm on my way, and they will leave them there. I'm going to say good evening to Connie. How are you, honey?
We are good out here in Metro LA. Thank you very much. And as you can see, it's starting to get cold. For us, cold is about 59 or 60, which is where it is today. But at any rate, we're wonderful. I am happy to report that young Mr. Casey, who will start his therapy dog career following in the footsteps of his esteemed grandmother, who is no longer with us. He will start his therapy dog career on December 6th, reading to local college students who are stressing out during finals week. And I am very happy to report, too, that he has been awarded for sure by AKC his #1 major. And so now he just needs his 2nd major. We earned it October 30th. At the Kennel Club of Riverside, and we were just waiting for AKC confirmation, which you always keep your fingers crossed. And he just needs his 2nd major and 1 single point, and then he will be a champion finally through COVID.
Hopefully he'll get a 5-point major and go over. So there you go.
That would be wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. So we are doing well. Thank you.
Wonderful. I'm so glad. I was watching Adele, and it was beautiful out in LA from the observatory, looking out over all of LA on Sunday. That was a beautiful concert. And I wanted to stand in front of all of them and say, have you have a MAAP plan for your pets? Most of them have pets, I'm sure. And
yes.
They were all there. So let me check in with Ciaran. Ciaran, how's Tenerife?
Hi, Debbie. How are you? Hi, Connie.
I'm good.
Hi there, John. Oh, it's freezing here. It's so cold. I had to put a pullover on today.
Oh my God.
It's really cold. Yes.
It's not cold here in North Carolina. We had a morning that was like in the 30s, but 33. However, it's been pretty warm, and I'm sort of a little missing the cold of New York that I'm used to, but it's growing on me. So tonight I started by putting a link in the chat to an article that I found that I put up on Facebook. Some of you might have seen it on Facebook, from the University of Michigan, where they did a study that shows that people who are in the hospital and ill are very worried about their pets, and some want to check themselves out or not stay as long as they should because they don't have care for their pets. So that's one of the D's, right? We have the many D's. One of them is disease and disability. So if you have a disease or you have a disability, not being able to take care of your pets, if you're in the hospital or you're too sick, I always mention the cancer commercials. They have Neulasta, and they have another out of hospital treatment that you can put on your arm and have it while you're at home. They always have the dog there. I sort of want to say to the cat people, they should also have the cat there, because cats are just as lovable when you're sick as dogs are. But they have the dog there, and I sit there and I go, yes, and you really need a plan if you're sick. Because you want that dog there, you want that dog on your bed helping you get better. However, if you can't get up and take the dog out, then it's not good. It's not good for you, and it's not good for the dog. So you really need to make a plan. I'll tell you, you guys are the first to know, I'm going to have my Lego put in my knee, which means the knee replacement. I'm having my new Lego put in my knee January 28th. And I'm already putting a plan together for Junie. And I'm already checking with Sally to see if Roxy can stay an extra 4 to 6 weeks so that she, is safe and sound, because I need to make sure. I live with my husband. He's here, but he is usually overwhelmed by taking care of me. So I've also checked with 2 of my neighbors who had met Junie before and said to them, can you come in and throw the ball and just, make sure he's okay? And they both said yes. I have their numbers on the refrigerator, and, they will be there to help Jim while he's helping me and I'm recovering, taking care of my dogs. It is the single most important thing we as pet owners can do, is navigate the journey your pet takes when you can't care for it. So the MAAP plan, funny that I'm navigating and it's called the MAAP plan, but the MAAP plan sets forth all the pieces you need. It really is important to have every one of the pieces. And the last piece, the P, I don't know how you guys feel. I know that Ciaran and Connie have been here every week, so I know that they probably have a favorite piece as well. But my favorite and most important piece is that you have to publish it. You have to put it somewhere where it can be found, because the plan you make, if somebody doesn't find it, they can't implement it. And I just, Sally and Gordon, Sally can't come on tonight. I think she's busy. She keeps pinging me, so I think she's busy. They recommended to a friend of theirs to call Irish Setter Rescue, because this person wanted an Irish setter. So we just had another member of the clan, so to speak, the Irish Setter loving clan, pass away with a number of dogs and no plan. So the Irish Setter Rescue people came in, and the family didn't want the dogs, or there was no family for the dogs. So the dogs went to various people who are affiliated with rescue, who are Irish Setter people, who will evaluate the dogs, and then they will send the dogs to they'll either go back to their breeders or they will be rehomed. And I know that Sally and Gordon's friend is in line to get one of this person's dogs, and he's thrilled. But wouldn't it have been great had he made a MAAP plan? Why? Because then she would have maybe had a plan for the dog. Maybe it would have worked out, maybe it wouldn't. As I always say at the end of the plan, when you're appointing caregivers, the last caregiver you should appoint is your breed-specific rescue. So for you, John, it would be the Golden Retriever Rescue. And for Connie, it would be the Wheaten Terrier Rescue. And for Ciaran, I'm not sure what breed you're walking now, but it would be that rescue. So you would want to make sure that's the last one in your list of people to call, so that you at least give it to someone who knows about your breed. If you can't find anyone who wants to take care of your dog, then always put down Golden Retriever Rescue, Irish Setter Rescue, Wheaten Terrier Rescue, because they will evaluate your dogs and at least give someone the idea of what this dog is like. It would be so much better if you made a plan and then you address the needs of the pet. So for you, John, you would write down what are the idiosyncrasies of Bailey and Molly. Do they like thunder or not? Are they on special diets or not? Do they have to take medication or not? Do they like thunder? Are they good with little white dogs? I have an Irish setter who we, jokingly report all the time that she hates little white dogs. I don't know why, but she does. So that's something that you have to tell people so that they don't find out the hard way that, Sally just told me that over the weekend there was a tornado warning in New Milford, and she and Gordon were unfortunately out at a 98-year-old birthday party. Hold on a minute, because she's pinging a lot. So, okay. Waiting for the dog sitter to get out of the shower. So she and Gordon were out. The energy of the tornado must have gotten to be too much for the dogs, and they rearranged the house quite effectively. In fact, they knocked a ladder down that was by the front door so that Sally and Gordon had a really hard time getting into the house. Yeah. So she reported to me that when I get Roxy back, that in fact, I have to be aware that when the energy changes in the house, if a storm is coming, it really throws Roxy off and she panics. All the pillows were out. Everything was dragged into the bathroom under the bathroom sink, and the two of them were huddled together under the bathroom sink. So these are things you need to tell people so they can make sure your dog is safe when something happens. Connie, I see your hands up. I love when you contribute.
Well, I just wanted to mention about leaving your breed specific rescue group as the court of last resort, if you will. And John, this is particularly true with GRCA. I should preface this by mentioning that I am the treasurer of my national parent breed club, Soft-Coated Wheaten Terrier Club of America. And we are right now in the throes of spinning off our rescue team into their very own but affiliated 501c3 organization. GRCA, with Golden Retriever Club of America, with which I am very familiar.
You're frozen, Connie.
Oh, am I okay?
You're good.
Okay. My older sister, who lives in the Bay Area, is a member of GRCA, and she is one of the founding members of NorCal Golden Retriever Rescue. GRCA has gone from having their own rescue team to moving off where they would refer people to local, and there are a gazillion local Golden Retriever rescues all over the country, some good, some not so good. And now finally, I just recently went back on the GRCA website to look up some information for our rescue team that is spinning off into its own entity. And GRCA doesn't even have the word rescue on their national website anymore.
Yeah.
So, and one of our Wheaten Terrier board members, one of our directors, also breeds. This is a weird combination of breeds to have: Great Danes and Wheatens. So, he goes from large mooses to good medium-sized dogs. But at any rate, he is on the board of Great Dane Club of America and was very instrumental in setting up their charitable trust, which does rescue and education and all sorts of other cats and dogs, pardon the pun. So you have to be extremely specific when you mention my breed rescue group to actually name the name of the specific entity that you want your dog to go to as the court of last resort, because all the different breed clubs operate differently.
And it is so important that all of us befriend people at that rescue that's nearby us, that we want our dogs to go to as the place of last resort. And we can also tell them, listen, we are going to the hospital. We can't take care of the dog for 6 months. Can I find a foster that will take care of it? And that's a good way as well. If you can't find people who you know, or neighbors or children or spouses, who can take care of your pets for you while you're recuperating. Rescues sometimes provide that service as well.
Correct.
You just have to ask and befriend them. And if you have a dog, so those of the so many people listen to this recording after, I want to make sure that those of you who have mixed breeds who got their dog from a shelter, just make sure you, want to return that dog to that shelter. And if you do, fine. Make sure you befriend it. Make sure you know that they know what you're doing with your plan. Or if it's a Labradoodle or a Irish Doodle, or it's a, Cavachon, you can go to the breed rescues of those dogs, and sometimes, most times, they will help you find a home as a last resort, because you really want to make sure that someone who knows either all about your breed or half about your breed will help you. And of course, as always, if you buy a dog from a breeder, you need to make sure, read your contracts if you signed one. If you need to return that dog to the breeder, then that's the first person who's on your list. Call Debra Hamilton. She's going to come and get your dog. And I will, believe me, no matter where I am, I will come get your dog. Or if you have a neighbor who loves your dog, or children who love your dog, then call the breeder and say, I know I co-own this dog with you. I know you have the first right of refusal, but I have this great neighbor, John, who loves my dog. He doesn't have any dogs. He'd love to have a dog. My dog is 8 years old now and has known John its whole life. And I'd love to put you in touch with John so that the dog could stay next door, across the street, whatever, from where it lived its whole life, with someone it knew its whole life. And I will tell you that 9 times out of 10 breeders, if you approach them with transparency and ask them to be part of the solution, they will say, okay, let me introduce me to John, and we'll sit down and have a conversation. And of course, set John up for the fact that this person, really wants to make sure that this dog is well cared for. Don't take offense if they ask a lot of questions, because they don't know you. And what you want to do is you want to say, listen, I would love to have the same contract that this person has, that if something happens to me, I don't want to have to worry about where the dog goes. I want to be able to give it back to you as well. And most breeders will allow people to make sure that the dog goes through them, because they want to make sure they keep track of their dogs. I know Connie and I sell our dogs with a first right of refusal in writing, because we want to make sure we know where the dogs are. It's not a big, I got to own this dog forever. No, it's that I need to know where this dog is. So I know that John's a great guy. He lives next door to Mary Lou. The dog loves John. So John and I are going to have a conversation. If God forbid something happens to Mary Lou, right? So John might be the person who says, I'm going to hold this dog until Debra comes. And then when Debra comes, we just sign a contract that says, okay, John, I'm giving you this dog. If something happens to you, I have the first right of refusal. You can't place the dog. And it's just for the care and protection of the dogs. So that's the most important piece. So you have to address the needs of the pet. That's one of the A's. And then appoint caregivers. We've talked about that. And then, of course, I told you that my most important part of this MAAP plan is the P, which means you have to tell people. So if you appoint somebody as a caregiver, you have to have redundancy. So that's 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. And you have to tell them about each other. So I'm going to tell Connie that she's the first person they're going to call. Then I'm going to tell Ciaran they're the second person they're going to call. Then I'm going to call Rose and say, you're the third person. And I want Rose to know that Ciaran and Connie are there too. So that if, Ciaran doesn't get a call, or Ciaran can't do it, he knows he can call Connie or Rose, so that everybody knows everybody else, so they know they can, because maybe Connie can only take the dog immediately, but then is going away on vacation. So she's going to then reach out to Ciaran and say, listen, I can't take the dog for more than a week. Can you? And he'll go, oh yeah, I'm fine. I have nothing. I'm not going anywhere. And he takes it. So you always want to have this redundancy and this knowledge between people that we all know what Connie wants to do with the Wheatons. We do. She has 3 people. They live up and down the hill from her in her neighborhood. Her sister is a little further away, but she's on the list as well. So she has people who are near and she has people who are far. And everybody knows about everybody else, which is so important and so key, because if they don't know about each other, then it gets a little sticky. I just listened to a pet trust program with an attorney, and I was doing a little bit of a jumping out of my seat because it was so heavily legal. About I asked them, would you create a document outside the will, which is what the MAP plan is, with people appointed to take care of the pet, that you could change because people's lives change. Sometimes, Ciaran's in Tenerife now. He really can't take care of my dogs in North Carolina. He used to live next door, but now he's in Tenerife. I'm kidding. He never lived next door, but in the event he did, I'd have to change it. And I don't want to have to pay for my will or my pet trust to be rewritten. And he goes, well, I wouldn't recommend that because, who knows what those people are going to do. And I said, well, that's where the MAP plan comes in, because you make sure that all the people you pull into the MAP plan know about each other, understand what your desires are, and work together to carry them out. That's like the biggest thing. So I've been beating that dead horse for, thank you so much. I've been beating that dead horse for a long time. Let me ask you, John, do you have any specific questions you want me to answer regarding the care of Bailey and Molly? Oh, and you also have to let your vet know and your attorney.
Right. I was just going to mention that the vet probably should know too.
You absolutely. So when you publish it, it has to be with your attorney and it has to be with your vet. And know that everyone who is your appointed caregiver has to have their name on your file at the vet, or they can't bring the dog to the vet.
Right.
I mean, they can, but the vet will probably take care of it, but they shouldn't. It's really against that vet client relationship unless their name is in the file.
Okay.
Anything else?
No, that's about it.
Okay. So Ciaran, are you going to update us on when your child asks for a dog, One-Eyed Leo guides the conversation? I think I got it right this time.
Very good, Debbie. Very good. A lot of good news flowing in the last week.
Oh, good. Good. Tell us.
News. So some things I can tell you about, and then there's other things that
That's fine.
We've agreed them, but as always, I'm not going to mention them until they're signed off. So the first good thing, which you've already known about, was the
Dogwise.
Oh yeah, well that's up and running. Okay, the second thing I'm going to tell you about is there's a similar boutique website to Dogwise, which only looks at publication of expert dog books, and they're going to include us the next week or two. So, which is quite nice. So, getting on the Dogwise platform has opened up a lot of things.
Yeah.
The American Association of Pet Parents are going live with the project, or they went live this evening.
Oh, good.
And they've sent it out to all their members, and they're doing a special on the 26th of November.
Well, make sure you send me the link so I can have Rose send it out to everyone who's part of the MAP community.
Indeed. What's the another piece of good news is two more very quick announcements. So we're going to be listed in the next few days by the first microchipping company. These have always been a target to get the microchipping companies to email the presence of the book to the members, because a lot of these companies, it's very simple. If somebody gets a dog from a rescue shelter and they have to re-register the chip, and in some cases you're talking about hundreds of thousands of re-registrations per week.
Yeah.
So we finally got our first microchipping company to come on board. Then there's the good. This is, you'll have to blame Spencer Hoggett for this one now, which is Good Friday. Good Friday. Black Friday.
Black Friday, because I was going to say Good Friday. That's Easter time. I said that the other day, and my husband said, we're only coming up to Thanksgiving. Please don't take us to Easter yet.
Yes. So Black Friday, we have a very special offer for rescue shelters. So quite simply, if somebody buys one of the books, they can nominate a rescue shelter, and we will give 50 free copies in December and 50 free copies in January.
Wonderful. Well, give me that link too. Make sure you send that link to me too, so I can make sure my rescue friends know about that.
Yeah. So there's quite a few other little things coming down the tracks, but as I say, I'm not going to mention them until until the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed.
I'm so glad. John, Ciaran wrote a book called When Your Child Asks for a Dog, One-Eyed Leo Guides the Conversation. It's about a rescue dog who helps your children understand what responsible dog ownership is from the viewpoint of a dog who's gone through a shelter experience. And it also has a piece for adults as well to understand what the responsibility is for adults to having dogs from a shelter or even from a breeder. We've softened it a little so that it also includes breeders because breeders should hand this book out to their owners so they know, and their owners' children, you know, the people who are coming to buy dogs, the children and the adults, because it gives such a wonderful and I think, Ciaran, can you put the link to One-Eyed Leo in the chat so that we can share it, or if you want, because this book is so incredibly user-friendly and not accusatory and not, you know, you got to do this, you have to do that. It's from the dog's point of view. Well, this is what I'd really like. This is how I'd really like to be treated. And when I'm treated like this, it doesn't make me feel good. And, you know, it just is such a great book for anyone who's contemplating getting a dog, or if you have a dog, you can lament that you should have had it before you got the dog, but now you know from Leo's point of view what you can do to assuage some of the naughty behavior. Molly and Bailey are a little older, so probably naughty behavior is either accepted. I mean, like in my house, Junie, his naughty behavior is accepted now, or they don't have any. They're perfect. So, and I know with the Wheatons, they don't have any naughty tricks up their sleeves. And I know, Ciaran, your dog has no naughty tricks up their sleeves. So, but you really need to make sure that this is a great book that we're going to share. That's why, and the MAAP plan is in the back of the book. Ciaran was nice enough to share the MAAP plan so that people who get these pets know, oh my God, right, if something happens to me, what's going to happen to my pet? And that's why the link in the chat was so fabulous, that University of Michigan is doing studies on how people will not get medical help if they don't have care for their pets. So I've reached out to them. Rose was nice enough to find me some links. I've reached out to them, and I'm hoping that I can collaborate with them to help them put together a program. Wouldn't that be great if I got into the hospital systems to help people make these plans before they have surgery, make these plans before family members are sick. Yes, Connie.
Another raising my hand. Since you are now living in the great state of North Carolina and a lot closer to AKC operational headquarters than you were previously, where the real work gets done, as opposed to 101 Park Avenue, NYC. AKC, as you know, has just recently completed their Responsible Dog Ownership Month of September. Right. In fact, my Obedience Club, which is an AKC club, just had a delayed RDOD this past weekend in our park where we practice, because we were delaying things due to COVID and wanted to see where the city was opening up. But it occurs to me, have you thought about maybe taking truncated? I'm still going to call it One-Eyed Leo, Ciaran. Yes. The book to AKC headquarters, and maybe seeing they have a whole lot of public education programs for kids now in schools. I forget what they're called. I think they're the BARC programs and some of the others. And that would seem to me to be very fertile ground for Ciaran's book.
Well, the good news is I sent the link to Ciaran's book to a board of director of the AKC. So I think has
Great.
gotten eyes on it already. It might have been too late for this year. And I will follow up with her so that I make sure that it has. And I'll also follow up with the people who are doing responsible dog ownership and see if they received it, A, and B, if they want to meet Ciaran, which is probably the next best thing to be in there.
Absolutely. But they are, really opening up a whole surfeit of programs, school programs for elementary school kids that, this would be really perfect for.
Yeah, and I think what we'll start doing is looking at different school districts we might have connections to and see if they want to have this as part of their responsible dog ownership presentation in September. So this would be great. This would be wonderful. So oh my God, we're over. This goes too fast. I might have to push it up to an hour, but I don't think so because everybody is so busy. I want to thank you all for being here. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to write me, info@hamiltonlawandmediation.com. That's info@hamiltonlawandmediation.com. So if you have any questions, and we'll see you next Wednesday night. And until then, it's not Thanksgiving yet, and I will be here next Wednesday. So I will see you all before Thanksgiving and good prep for Thanksgiving. I'll be coming to you from beautiful Vero Beach, Florida, but I will be coming to you next Wednesday.